Everybody, a round of applause. For Kaisen Season 2, we have made it. We have seen the day that this has arrived. It's been a long time in the making. It's very exciting because the amount of stuff that this actually covers is ridiculous. We have Gojo's flashback, we have Shibuya, and that's basically it. But the amount of content within those things, ridiculous. Let me just tell you. For anime-only fans, you are in for a treat. I'm not going to spoil anything on what those treats are, but trust me, you're going to have a blast. High-octane action, beautiful animation, some pretty impressive story elements, reveals, etc, etc. You know, the standard stuff that you would expect. But as of now, we're getting a really nice flashback. And obviously the art direction has changed with the very first episode, which I was very interested to see how they'd handle it. There's a lot of ways that they could have gone about it, a lot of things they could have learned from Chainsaw Man, Hell's Paradise, etc. They've been working on this for quite some time, and you can tell they've gone a little bit experimental. It's probably not the best word to use, but they are putting their all into this season. I do want to mention that I feel bad for season 2, specifically this episode, because it was leaked a couple days prior. This is never a good thing. I'm not sure if it leaked with subtitles or with, you know, the opening, the ending, etc. But the whole thing was there in full HD. The leaking industry is definitely volatile when it comes to the anime and manga community, and it was just very disappointing to see. I understand a lot of people may not be able to watch officially, etc, etc, and I'm not going to tell you how you should indulge within it, but if you do have the opportunity to, I recommend watching it officially, legally, if you can. It's the best way to go about it. It helps build the community, helps build the industry, stuff that you've heard a million times before. But I think it was just very disappointing because of the hype and the overall excitement that everyone had for this season. A lot of us were going into it blind, not really sure on what to expect, and then obviously 2 days prior, everything kind of gets shown off. I was lucky enough to kind of avoid everything, didn't really get spoiled on any of the animation or the visual identity of the show. Even the directors and animators that were working on it, wasn't sure who was taking part in it, and I can say that it paid off. When I sat down to watch this episode, I was nothing but impressed. Surprised and interested, but overall impressed. The visual identity, the direction, the artistry, the animation, the sound design, just everything felt so crystal clean. It felt like an advancement or an evolution of their previous stuff, but in a way that still felt pretty unique. I know a lot of people have this issue with MAPPA anime specifically because a lot of them feel very homogenous, meaning that they feel kind of clumped together, very similar, you know. Kaisen has seen that idea, stepped out of its comfort zone, and has delivered with season 2 being so visually pleasing. And it's not just in the visual department, but also the directing. There's a lot of interesting elements or direction being utilized within this first episode that I really appreciate. It's very small stuff, very minuscule, it doesn't really take up a big part of the watching experience, but it just felt nice to witness. A lot of it you will see contained within like the first 10 minutes before the intro. It's basically surrounding Mei Mei and Utahime. When they're exploring this haunted house, there's so many interesting ways that they've gone about visualizing it. For example, Utahime opening up some doors, her checking underneath a bed, even the hallway sequence where it stretches out, or when she's running, for example. Everything felt very new and refreshing for Kaisen as an anime, but it felt like there was a lot of passion put within there. Just these small, tiny moments. One that stood out to me that I enjoyed was when Utahime gets scared and she stumbles back through the door frame back into the hallway, and the body movement is almost kind of like rotoscoping. It's super fluid and there's like this weird blur over the top of it. I'm not too sure on the technical terms of how they achieved it, but they just decided to do that specifically for that shot because you transition kind of effortlessly through the side of the room back into the hallway as like a singular panning shot, and it was just cool. Like, I'm not a big technical person when it comes to animation. I don't know enough about it personally, but I can appreciate shots that definitely seem out of the norm because there's so many other ways that they could have gone about it. I'm sure it could have been easier to do a shot like that. Instead, it seemed like they buckled down and they stuck true to this vision that they wanted to achieve. And if I have the corresponding screenshots, I'll show you, but the motion is where you will see it, especially after it as well. When Mei Mei puts her hand on Utahime, she screams and turns around and it just seems very fluid, almost like it is rotoscoping. And if you don't know what rotoscoping is, I believe it's animating over the top of an individual that they have filmed. Think about it like this: you videotape a dancer and then you animate quite literally over the top of that dancer every movement that they make. You just have to rearrange the environment, the lighting, everything. I make it sound super simple, but it's very difficult, of course. But it's a way to capture that fluidity and the body movements in a really nice way. Now, it's still very stressful and time consuming, but you'll notice it used used a little bit frequently throughout the first episode. Not all too much, but just for certain segments. I like that a lot. It seems like they set up like a little mini department within their office or something and filmed people doing it, so they had a better idea on how to capture this type of movement within this frame. That shouldn't be a surprise though. The animation throughout this episode is gorgeous. You will love it. You will appreciate it. It doesn't give you all too much, but when it does, it's amazing to watch unfold. Story-wise, it feels like it definitely drops you into the deep end. Like, I've read Kaisen and I've watched season 1, and even I was kind of like, oh, we're starting here, and then they slowly expanded upon it and really sat within the moment. I like this. It makes me have faith that they're going to adapt things a little bit differently, which they already have. They've taken stuff that is very quick and kind of thrown into the manga and just exploring it in a slower, more methodical way to build tension, to build atmosphere, and for me, the most important thing, show love to these characters. Utahime and Mei don't get a lot of attention within the manga, so seeing it here, you can fall in love with these characters just off the first episode alone. Their performances, spectacular. Their characteristics, their attitude, how they bounce off one another, the environment that they're both within. It's a really nice set piece to combine these characteristics together, and what that equals out to is an enjoyable experience. One that's more fulfilling and fleshed out than the manga material, which is perfectly okay. They can obviously have their creative liberties and kind of put their own spin on things, which is what we expect. The manga's great, don't get me wrong, but the anime can provide a new take on it, a refreshing angle. I want to give a round of applause to the sound design. The team that managed to capture all of these sounds and kind of just put everything perfectly in there, fabulous. I applaud each and every one of you, because for me, there's so many tiny, intricate details that are so slightly heard, especially within that mansion, that opening sequence. When they're just walking through the hallway, it could be the rain or the creaking of the floors or little pitter-patters of like the rats and mice, etc. Even Utahime and Mei breathing or being shocked mixed with their voice acting, clothes rustling. There's so many layers to that sound design, and this isn't a revolutionary thing, we know this, but you can appreciate it. I'm sure there's an anime that you can think of that's like, wow, that sound design is immaculate. So the animation, color palette, character designs, everything's lovely. Sound design, beautiful. The story, they're filling out a little bit more. What I am very curious in, this is my leading excitement for this show. The tone that I got just from this first episode seems very fitting for the story that's going to be told. Now again, I'm not going to spoil that story, but this is something very personal to Gojo and Geto as characters. That means nothing for a lot of you. If you haven't read the manga, you don't know what this means, right? Over time, you will find out, and I think this anime is going to be a very beautiful portrayal of their characters, their relationship, their friendship, and how that gets explored and challenged and how it operates throughout the show. Just based off this first episode, I see it being more intimate, more personal than the manga ever was. And again, it's not a bad thing. It's just a different perspective of it. The fact that we can fill out their relationship a lot more, we have more room to breathe, we have more time to spend with these characters, makes me believe that to be so. Just off one episode, I think we're in for a very great time. It's going to make a lot of you cry, make you upset, make you angry even, but at the end of it, I think you'll have a solid understanding of Gojo, solid understanding of Geto, and even a lot of other characters, ones that weren't necessarily prevalent. Now that's tonally, thematically, I am super excited because there is so many ways that they can take this, and I already see what they're trying to do very early on to really hone in the severity of the situation. When you see that start to peel back its layers, when it starts to become more personal, more intimate, for example, undoubtedly you will start to question a lot of things. But most importantly, you'll fall in love with it. I truly think this season is going to be a completely different league to the first. Not better, not worse, not anything along those lines in comparison, but just a different league. There is so much material here, so much important material, and if they do want to explore it a different way, which it seems like they're starting to, they have all the room to do it. Shibuya is going to be a little bit more on the rails because Shibuya is kind of more straight to the point and direct, but I'm still very excited to see how they handle that as well. I believe this season is 26 episodes and it's continuous, so there's no real big break. Now, theoretically, that could change, you never really know, but they seem confident that it's going to be continuing all throughout July and August and September, etc., because it is 26 episodes. episodes. The last thing that I do want to mention, obviously based off first impressions, is the opening and the ending. As usual, beautiful. But for me, this is where I feel confident in saying that their interpretation of Gojo and Geto is going to be more played upon. We're going to see more symbolic tone and thematic presence playing into their relationship. See, the opening and the ending are based around these two characters, how they visualize each other, how they operate throughout the world, how they feel about power and the sorcery world in general. So I don't want to say there's a lot of spoilers, but there's a lot of contextual evidence that really directly plays into how they view each other. I love that. I adore it. Not to mention Toji, he's in there looking as fine as ever. He's also in the episode. People are going to fiend over him. He is a power player for this season and someone to watch out for. However, now it is the time to share your thoughts. Whether you're a new fan or a manga reader, what are you excited for? What impressed you the most? Leave a like, comment, subscribe. It supports me a ton and I would greatly appreciate it.